One for the trouble, two for the time. Come on, y'all, let's rock. Come on, y'all, let's rock. Come on, y'all, let's rock.
My beat forever.
You see it, one for the trouble, two for the time. Come on, y'all, let's rock.
Welcome back to another edition of the Hot Topic. We're glad to have you back here at Hot Topics on Urban Voice Media. We got a good one this evening. We have a real good one. As you seen in the intro, it was Robby Starbuck. Starbuck, he was a music executive once upon a time, and he had a lot to say once he got away from that type of field. And with all that's going on with the killings at the colleges, the killings in the music industry with rappers, they dying. I just read today where it was this year alone in 2022, 20 rappers have died by murder. Just 20 by murder here in 2022. So when I ran across this information, I want to give a shout out to Tyrone Stringer. He sent me over this information, and he said, "Ill, this is something I want you to cover for me." And I'm sat down, I thought about it. I said, this took me back to something that what Mr. Starbuck has to say. It took me back to something, I think it was about 2 or 3 years ago when Crazy Bone from Bone Thugs and Harmony, he came out with vital information in regards to what happened back in the early 90s as to how rap music flipped from the conscious rap, the supporting rap, the fun rap, to all of the gangster rap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a little bit of snippets and I'm going to come back to you and everything. Please bear with me. There's a lot to unpack in this. Not only do I have Mr. Starbuck, once again, I have Crazy Bone. He's given his version of what he witnessed himself in the music industry out in California area. Also, we have information from, there's a little bit of footage from the Hebrew Israelites. Hold your horses on this one, ladies and gentlemen, because they said something very vital as well, to where I wish a lot of my brothers and sisters that are in the music industry would wake up and just pay attention. But y'all check out Robby first.
In light of seeing that a rapper from Migos died, I just wanted to go ahead and make a video about something I have a unique experience in. So I directed a bunch of rappers, people like Gucci Mane, Snoop Dogg, Lil Yachty, the list goes on and on and on, okay? I learned a lot of things, and I have left the industry largely over my political beliefs, but there is something I want to impart to people to hopefully, make some sort of change happen. So I have a challenge to rappers, and I know some of you still follow me. I know a bunch of the celebrity blogs still follow me from trying to get news from music videos and things like that. So here's the truth. The truth is this: a bunch of young black male rappers keep dying. You know who's not dying? Record executives. The record executives that push for them to continue to make songs and create a culture that is obsessed with death, drugs, and sex. Period. The industry is obsessed with it, but those record executives, they're not dying because they don't push this culture on their own people, but they're encouraging you to push it on yours, and they're paying you handsomely to do it. The reality is, I know a lot of you.
Now listen to what he said there. He said that they're pushing the money, sex, and drugs on the rappers community, but they're not pushing the money, sex, and drugs on their community. That sounds like pimps. That's exactly what a pimp does. A pimp doesn't go out there and have sex with a lot of women to make the money. The pimp sends the lady out there to make the money. He sends the lady out there to put her body in harm's way. And that's what these executives, what he's saying these executives are. They're the pimp, and the rappers are the lady, and making the rappers go out there and do all the dirty work and put their bodies, their lives, their families, their communities, bodies and life in harm's way, but they're not doing it to their community. Their community is safe and sound, but not the rappers. But we won't listen. I'm gonna continue on.
A lot of you are good people, you're family guys. You're not the image that you put out there to the world. Why? Why don't you be the example? Stand up. I challenge you. Be the example. Make music about the culture you want to see. Don't just get online today and talk about how,
Now you see though, it on the screen it had BDP, KRS One, and I think it was Heavy D and the Boys. Those two albums right there back in the days were fun club party albums from the beginning of the record to the end for the side A to side B. It was party, fun, conscious, educating, giving you something to feel good about tomorrow. None of what they said in those type of records were about belittling women. If anything, it was teaching you how to love women. Putting down your brother or your sister. If anything, it was telling you about how to be a friend or to watch out for someone who isn't your friend. We don't have that these days. And that's what Robby is talking about right there. We're going to dig into some more.
whenever a rapper makes it, his own people take him down. Don't just make those videos. Don't be sad. Don't rest in peace. None of that stuff. Be the change you want to see. Inspire it in your community. Reach out to other rappers and say, we have to stop. We're being used. You've been used for a long time,
And you know what? That's something that I've said to a lot of guys. They say, well, this is what the people want to hear. No. The people hear what you put out. The people dance. The people like what you put out. The people don't demand what it is that you should write about. The types of beats, the types of songs you write and sing about and rap about. The people don't request that. The people accept what you give them. And if that's all they got, then they adapt to the stuff that you're putting out. So Robby's right on that. You make the change. Because so far, over the last 35 years or so, the public hasn't made the change for the rappers or the singers. And we're not gonna put this all just on rappers, because singers are just as bad in our community. The R&B songs are way totally different. It's about money. It's about sex, drugs, and not so much in the singing, but it is about the money and the sex in the singing predominantly. There's no more, about the love, about the feelings. Nah, it's just the only feeling it is that sexual feeling. But I ain't gonna say it is what it is, because it don't have to be that. Let's go some more, Rob.
They create this paradigm to make you believe that you're so important and your celebrity status is worth so much, but in truth, you're a pawn in their game and you always have been.
The letter is the secret meeting that changed rap music and destroyed a generation.
Now, right here is where Crazy Bone from Bone Thugs and Harmony, he's going to speak about the group that he went to meet at some type of big executive's home. And it was a whole group of them, along with people that they didn't even know, that's not even in the music industry, but they had control over the people who are in the music industry. And as you listen to this closely, he's going to tell you about his executive and how his executive got caught up. And I ain't going to spoil it for you. I'm just going to let you listen.
So it says, hello. After more than 20 years, I finally decided to tell the world what I witnessed in 1991, which I believe was one of the biggest turning points in popular music and ultimately American society. I have struggled for a long time weighing the pros and cons of making my story public, as I was reluctant to implicate the individuals who were present that day. So I've simply decided to leave out the names and all the details that may risk my personal well-being and that of those who were, like me, dragged into something. This may explain why in early 1991, I was invited to attend a closed-door meeting with a small group of business insiders to discuss rap music's new direction. Rap music's new direction.
Yeah.
And you hear what he said? They were there to discuss rap music's new direction. Listen to this direction.
Little did I know we would be asked to participate in one of the most unethical and destructive business practices ever seen. Our casual chatter was interrupted when we were asked to sign the confidentiality agreement, preventing us from publicly discussing the information presented during the meeting. Needless to say, this intrigued, in some cases, disturbed many of us. The agreement was only a page long, but very clear on matters and consequences, which stated that violating the terms will result in job termination immediately.
Now check that out. If they decided to go and talk about this, they're no longer rappers. They're no longer with that record company. If they go and talk about that meeting that night, why? This is the boldness these people had. The boldness. Keep listening.
The subject quickly changed as the speaker went on to tell us that the respective companies we represented had invested in a very profitable industry, which could become even more rewarding with our active involvement.
Now listen as to what this industry is. He said the companies that represented them are invested in this new industry. Listen to the industry.
He explained that the companies we worked for had invested millions into the building of privately owned prisons, and that our
Wow. So the record companies are invested into privately owned prisons. Privately owned, key word, ladies and gentlemen. I'm gonna roll this back just a piece and hear it again. Privately owned prisons.
the respective companies we represented had invested in a very profitable industry, which could become even more rewarding with our active involvement. He explained that the companies we worked for had invested millions into the building of privately owned prisons, and that our positions of influence in the music industry would actually impact the profitability of these investments.
Now, how is that going to happen? How is it that, let me take that off, y'all. How is it rap music is going to enhance the profitability of the prisons? What is it that rap music is supposed to do? Robby said it earlier. I said it earlier too. We spilled the beans on what Crazy Bone is talking about. But think about that, ladies and gentlemen. They're asking you to do what, rappers? So that we can make more money. We're making money off your rap, and we're going to make money off of what the rap contributes to. Let's move along.
Then he says, I remember many of us in the group immediately looking at each other in awe and confusion. At the same time, I didn't know what a private prison was, but I wasn't the only one. Sure enough, someone asked what these prisons were and what any of this had to do with music. We were told that these prisons were built by privately owned companies who receive funding from the government based on the number of inmates.
Wait a minute now. He said privately owned prisons receive money from the government based on the number of inmates. So if you only got 200 inmates in your prison that house 500, that money you're going to get is very, very small. But if you can get all 500 housed up in there, you're going to get the bang of the buck. And whose help did they need to do that? Rappers. They wanted to put as many black folks as they could in those prisons and make money off of them on this end and that end. Sound like a pimp all the way around. A good pimp. They learned from the brothers on how to pimp. Shiesty. Keep on listening, y'all.
The more inmates, the more the government would pay these prisons. It was also made clear to us that since these prisons are privately owned, as they become publicly traded, we'd be able to buy shares. Most of us were taken back by this. Again, a couple of people asked,
did you hear what he just said? Not only we making money off of your record sales, We're making money off of the contribution of the negativity in those records, poisoning the minds of brothers and sisters in the communities to get housed into the prison camps. And while they're in the prison camps, we also can do what? We can invest shares. Shares. Did you know that? You can invest shares within the prisons. Mm, mm, mm.
This had to do with us. At this point, my industry colleague who had first opened the meeting took the floor again and answered our questions. He told us that since our employees had become solid investors in this prison business, it was now in their interest to make sure that these prisons remain filled. Our job would be to help make this happen by making music which promote criminal behavior.
You heard it. They asked them to make music which will create criminal behavior. Let your mind sink in on that one right quick. Promote music so that it can create our community to go out and do crime so that we can get arrested, so we can get these long, lengthy sentences, so that we can be housed in their facilities where they're making big bangs of the buck. I'm gonna let this play some. I'm gonna find out how much each prisoner, the federal government pays each prisoner. I'm gonna let it play just a little bit longer. Y'all keep checking it out.
Rap being the music of choice. My industry colleague who opened up the meeting earlier hurried out to meet us and reminded us that we had signed an agreement and would suffer the consequences of speaking out about this publicly or even those who attended the meeting.
Damn.
I asked him why was he involved with something so corrupt, and he replied, "It's bigger than the music business and nothing we can do. And no, it's bigger than the music business and nothing we want to challenge without risking consequences." We all protested as we walked back into the house. I remember word for word the last thing he said. "It's out of my hands now. Just remember you signed an agreement." He then closed the door behind him. The men rushed us to our car and actually waited until we drove off the property.
And now in 1970, there was 500 prisons. You know what I'm saying? Only 500 prisons in the United States. To this day, there's 1,700 prisons right now. That means big business. I'm talking about that done flippled over. You know what I'm saying? If flippled over is a word. Because they're making a lot of money off of these things per inmate.
Let's go back. My mic was on mute. I just got notification I was on mute. What I was saying earlier was the Federal Bureau of Prisons pay their employees $65,836 a year. For each inmate, the prison gets $36,299.25 a year, or $99.45 a day, which equivals out to be $12.43 an hour. And the people who is paying for this, it says your American taxpayer dollars go towards covering the average federal prison inmate. So you're paying for each inmate that's in there. So the record company goes out and get the artists. They advise the artists, we need this corrupt music. The corrupt music goes into the communities. They're saying that, the crimes in the community is coming from the rap music. It pushes people off into prisons. The prison getting money for the inmate, and the guards getting lavish $65,000 to be a prison. I need to go to be in that field. That's some good money. Just standing around, and they probably do a lot of stuff. I ain't gonna say that. They probably under some stress, but yet and still, $65,000. That sounds like a good paycheck per year. Now, ladies and gentlemen, sink your mind on that. What if we had good music that was going into the communities and that was actually educating our youth and adults, that was inspiring our youth and adults to be a better person, like we had back in the 70s, 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and a little bit of the 90s? What if we had that now? We wouldn't need as many prisons as my man said that we had. But I'm going to roll this back just a little piece and let you hear him say it again. How many prisons there were in 1970 and they are today?
Why was he involved with something so corrupt? And he replied, it's bigger than the music business and nothing we can do. And no, it's bigger than the music business and nothing we want to challenge without risking consequences. We all protested as we walked back into the house. I remember word for word the last thing he said. It's out of my hands now. Just remember you signed an agreement. He then closed the door behind him. The men rushed us to our car and actually waited until we drove off the property.
And now in 1970, there was 500 prisons. You know what I'm saying? Only 500 prisons in the United States. To this day, there's 1,700 prisons right now. That means big business. I'm talking about that done flippled over. You know what I'm saying? If flippled over is a word. Because they're making a lot of money off of these things per inmate. You know what I'm saying? So getting with the same thing of the music, it all went hand in hand, and we just partying at the same time.
So us as the artists is the tool they use.
Yeah.
The music is the bait.
Yep.
And the young consumers are the prey. It's a cold game.
We the only
Follow me from
You can go to YouTube and look up Crazy Bone. It says the title of it is Crazy Bone. Give me 1 second. Crazy Bone exposes private prisons that are linked to rap music. Go and look that title up. I'll put it on the board for you. Just go look that up right there if you want to see the full, or if you want to hear. I think the video is there too. If you want to see the full length video, because it was more in there. We just pulled out bits and pieces that we felt were, the main portion that, you guys, to give you guys a logistics, really what was going on. But what's coming up next is the Hebrew Israelites in Los Angeles. And they had something very, very well connected as to what Crazy Bone was saying in reference to rap music, and also what Robby was saying. So I want you guys to check that out as well. Listen closely.
It's the tool they use.
Yeah.
The music is the bait. Yep. And the young consumers are the prey. It's a cold game.
We the only genre of people that make music degrading our women and then celebrate it. We're the only people that make a genre of music degrading our women and then our women dance to it. We twerk after a man just called you bees and hoes in the song, and we celebrate that. You know what black people like to celebrate? Sexuality, Hypersexualization. No more. Like, is this what Martin Luther King died for? Martin Luther King died for us to be just hypersexual now, right?
Now, he's not saying that in reference to, to be funny towards Martin Luther King. He's saying it really to open your eyes. Why did King do all he did? Put his life on the line. Not for us to twerk and to degrade one another in music and enjoy it. Number one, he said we actually enjoy that type of stuff. When I say we, I'm not saying I actually do it. I mean, it's something that I just gawk to. But when I say we, I'm saying we as a people, we have allowed that mess to continue on in our communities, on the radio stations. We allowed that mess versus calling the radio station saying, hey, we don't want to hear that mess. Stop playing that music. They'll do it. Because if they don't, they'll stop getting listeners. And without listeners to the radio stations, their advertisers aren't getting heard. So therefore, there's no more advertisement paid going to the radio stations to fund them. People, please listen to what he's saying. I'm going to go back just a little piece more. Please listen to what this brother right here just said. It's very, very vital.
And then celebrate it. We're the only people that make a genre of music degrading our women, and then our women dance to it. We twerk after a man just called you bees and hoes in the song, and we celebrate that. You know what black people like to celebrate? Sexuality. Hypersexualization. No more. Like, is this what Martin Luther King died for? Martin Luther King died for us to be just hypersexual now, right?
Sure didn't.
Naked.
He didn't die for that.
All we talk about is money and sex.
Exactly.
Money, sex, and drugs.
Exactly.
That's all we talk about. That is what the epitome of what black culture is.
When was the last time you heard a song that uplifted you about a romance? A new song, not nothing old, not nothing from the 70s, 80s, and 90s, but something of the mid 2000s, from 2000, let's say 2015 forward. Name a song, ladies and gentlemen, that really, truly uplifted you, and that artist went on and uplifted you, made you want to go and buy some flowers for your loved one. Name that song. Now go back to the 90s, 80s, and 70s and name a song. You got millions. Pay attention, y'all. Sorry about that. But pay attention. Pay attention.
It's what's giving our people further into curses. We'll never be. That's why, how you think a nation of people that don't care for you gonna take you serious, and we can't even get it together within ourselves?
The government has wanted to hold down communities of people in different ways through different methods for a very long time. Their method in the black community has been to use entertainment to create a culture obsessed with death, drugs, sex, and money, so that they could create a false paradigm of what.
Y'all keep hearing the same thing over and over. Death, drugs, sex, money. Kill, drugs, sex, money. Kill, drugs, sex, money. Kill, drugs, sex, money. Kill. See how we dancing? Yeah. Foolishness. Straight foolishness. If you ain't gonna listen to nobody, listen to Robby.
Happiness and what success really was. And in doing so, they created a world that also made people more dependent on government, and as a result, gave themselves more power. The record executives that push you to do this, to go and continue to profit off the backs of your work, they're in cahoots with the elite. They're in cahoots with the.
Ain't that what Crazy Bone said? Ain't that what Crazy Bone said? Now, Robby just did this, I want to say 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Crazy Bone said it 2 years ago. Do the math.
Government. They want you to think you're important, but in truth, you're just doing their dirty work for them, so stop. They've empowered you in ways that are real. You have an audience. You have platforms. You have the ability to make change. So go against the grain together. They're more afraid of you all together standing up and creating a new culture that's built around family, faith, freedom, doing the right thing, valuing life, than they are of anything else. So I challenge you. Use your power to do the right things. If you continue to do the same thing you've done, more rappers like this are going to die. How many have to die before you change the culture? And let me tell you something else.
Think about what he said. How many more rappers going to have to die? How many more singers, artists, period, are going to have to die before the artists collectively get together and say, you know what? We're not doing this no more. It's tearing down. We're now realizing it's tearing down our community. It's no longer about the money. It's about, respect. It's about dignity. Something that community, we got to do better. We have to do better. Robby is telling you he's putting the nail on the coffin for you. In that clip with the Hebrew Israelites, they put the nail in the coffin for you. And Crazy Bone, if that wasn't enough what he said, what more need to be said? How can we get into your brain cells? If you're writing garbage, you're telling the world something about you. If you're writing a whole bunch of fight, kill, steal, sex, drugs, you're letting the world know that you're a low life. There's no other way of putting it. You're scum. That's bottom line what you are. Why are you scum? Who in the world want to be around you other than your boys? They scum too. Ain't but 5 of you. All of y'all are scum. But see, that scum can't go to somewhere nice and fit in. Because instantly, they're going to sniff you out because you're scum. Scum don't smell good, look good, taste good, feel good. Think about it, ladies and gentlemen. Think about what you're doing. Robby ain't finished. He got just a little piece more.
There's a reason the record labels pay us more to do rap videos. They don't tell you that, do they? Do they tell you that they pay us more to do your videos? Because they do. They do it because they know it's more dangerous. They do it because they know it's more difficult. And they do it because, frankly, there's a lot of money laundering involved. Those labels wash a bunch of money through. We don't do it, but we know the labels are doing it 100%. Okay, they're then taking the money off the top end, and you see on your royalty check, oh, they spent $150,000 on this video. Did they? Because we didn't see $150,000. Okay, so where did the money go? And to who? Their friend's company? A lot of times that's the case. Same thing with insurance companies. They charge us more to insure your videos. And it's because they know the culture that's been created. They know that the only possibility of a music video being shot up is on a rap video. And that's the truth. So change the culture. You have the power. Your people deserve it.
You got that right. We deserve it 100%. Brothers and sisters that are aspiring to be music artists, whether it's rap, any type of music, whatever it is, whether it's Southern soul, R&B, jazz, blues, gospel, guys, you got to start thinking about what you're doing and where you're going to be at the age 50. What is your legacy going to be? What are you leaving behind when you turn around at age 50, if you live that long, and depending on what type of garbage you're making? When you turn around at 50 and you look at that, at your accolades of what all you done, and it reads, blow them up, girl, drop them draws, girl, do what I told you to do. Just a whole bunch of this negative mess. Think about that. When you're sitting down and you're writing, you're being creative and you're writing. Think about what you're writing. See, because back in when I asked the guys to bring me some info, and well, me being a DJ, and that's the thing, when rap music switched over and R&B music got more and more lustful and dirty, I saw myself more and more getting away from my turntables because it wasn't fun for me no more. It wasn't fun to hear a whole bunch of cursing and a whole bunch of degrading, a whole bunch of shooting. It's hard for me to mix and I'm hearing guns all in the songs. Really? I can't do nothing with that. But I can mix wonderfully with great beats and great tunes and great lyrics. If you ain't saying nothing, you know, I can't really pump it up. Just like if you heard in the intro, there was lyrics of other rappers stuff in the intro that was iconic cueing points for DJs back in the days. When I say back in the days, I mean, you know, early 2000s, 90s, 80s, 70s. Good cueing points. Hard to find them now. If we want a good cueing point, we got to go back to some, like I say, earlier 2000s on back down the line. This stuff coming out nowadays, you can't cue nothing what they're saying because you barely even understand what they're saying, number one. But on the outro, I want you guys to look at the guys. I'm not going to tell you who they are. You just have to figure it out on your own, play it back, look at it again. But one of the guys I'm sure you can really, truly figure it out. But when you Google their name of the group, you then understand all of these guys made hits. And to look at them today, and they started back in 1978. And this clip that you're going to see for the outro, it was done in New York. I think it was done in 2017. But guys, think about what you're writing. Think about what you're producing. Think about who's listening to it. And think about the effect of what you're doing, how it's going to relay on to the community, and the cost and effect of your works. No, you're not pushing no one to pull that gun. But think about the cost and effect of your works. Think about that. Until next time, y'all be up.
Take the man who never make a take a rap. I'm not up on the baddest man you ever saw. Money making earthquaking man who gets the party shaking. I'm the beat, never see the other see it from the sea. If I need to believe it, right, cavity. Simulation battles, my rock nation. Battle time, I am battle deep on my matters. When I want my hand up, right, again, I'm a sinner, all of them, just away. Merry, every time I bust a cherry, oh my God, it's fame and glory, but I never tell a story. Only time I'm from the mic because it's something that I like. Reassure the brothers, so I always keep a second story.
Too forward time. Come on, y'all, let's rock.